generally, if you want to know the definition of weapon, you need to look at the Penal Code, section 16,100 through 17,360 actually defines how weapons are categorized under the Penal Code. The most important thing to understand is that there are weapons generally, and then there are firearms. So firearms have their own set of laws, and every other weapon is enumerated separately. In California, the Penal Code defines deadly weapon in the sections I mentioned as it applies to certain weapons that are what we call weapons per se, that by their very nature are designed to be used as weapons. Something like a knife, a sword, a blackjack, nunchucks, brass knuckles. Those are items for which there's no use other than to use as a weapon. Those are all defined in the Penal Code and specifically prohibited. Each of those crimes can be charged as a misdemeanor or a felony. A misdemeanor is a crime where the maximum punishment is 1 year in county jail, which sounds like a lot of time, but the fact of the matter is that when someone is convicted of a misdemeanor, they typically get probation. In order to get probation, you have to get something less than the maximum. And so what people usually get is a very small sentence, and then they remain on probation, during which time they're supposed to act according to various rules and regulations. A felony is a crime where the maximum punishment is a term in the state prison in excess of 1 year. Now, with most weapons charges, the crimes themselves can be what are called wobblers. Okay, a wobbler is a crime that wobbles between a misdemeanor or a felony. Whether it's charged as a misdemeanor or a felony is the discretion of the prosecutor. Whether the conviction remains a misdemeanor or a felony is the discretion of the court. And the court looks to various circumstances, such as the individual's criminal history, the manner in which the weapon was possessed or used, to determine whether that person should be on felony probation, misdemeanor probation, whether they should have a misdemeanor county jail sentence or a felony prison sentence. Firearms are their own category. Firearms are obviously extremely controversial throughout the United States generally, and especially in California, we have laws that are more aligned with liberal politics. Whether that's a political issue or not is up to every individual. However, firearms are defined as items with a barrel that by virtue of a combustion expel a projectile. That's important to distinguish it from a BB gun or an airsoft gun. Airsoft or BB gun tends to eject a projectile by the force of air, usually a CO2 cartridge. And the importance of that distinction comes into play in cases where someone can be seen with what appears to be a firearm, but the object was never analyzed by law enforcement. There was never a discharge to clarify whether it was shooting bullets or a BB, something like that. But in addition to the crimes that are actually defined in the Penal Code, the weapons that are defined in the Penal Code, or the firearms that are defined, there's also a kind of a more abstract definition of weapon that comes into play in certain other situations. For example, there's the crime of assault with a deadly weapon. Sometimes when certain crimes are used where the person possesses a weapon, there's an enhancement that can add a potential 1 year prison sentence for the use of a weapon in the commission of a crime, the commission of a felony. In those cases, weapon is not defined by a specific statute, such as a statute that defines nunchucks, brass knuckles, the statutes that specifically prohibit them. In the cases of assault with a deadly weapon or the 1 year weapon use enhancement, a weapon is defined as any item that can be used and in fact is used in a manner that may cause death or great bodily injury. So that's obviously pretty vague and abstract and something that is subject to argument.